Hello, and hope you're having a great day. Hi, lovelies. It is the AfroCentric woman, and I wanted to come on here as a follow up to my live that I think I did on, I think that was Friday night, because I was driving around yesterday and something dawned on me. A story that is just so relevant to what I was saying, and why I decided to halt a lot of the suitors that I had as it relates to my car issue. So, um, yeah, a lot of times people feel the need to tell me how they really feel in my Instagram inbox on my about my videos. And somebody was saying that I was just, a little bit too drastic um with my response of, cutting guys off and stuff like that because none of them responded very favorably. None of them responded in a protector provider way to the car issue that I had. So I guess you'd have to listen to at least the beginning part of that video to understand what I'm saying here. But let me give you a story, a real story that actually happened to me and a friend, and it'll help you understand why I did what I did and why I moved the way I moved. So my friend is married to a Dusty, and she has been married to this Dusty since 10 years. They've been married for 10 years this year. And before they got married, they were probably together for like, I want to say maybe 8 years or something like that, like a long relationship. Yeah, honestly, yeah, something like 8 years. So this is something like an 18-year relationship. This guy is super dusty. She is the breadwinner of the family. She makes way more money than him. Um, since they've been married, she has gotten a master's degree. Actually, she got a bachelor's and a master's. So when they met, she had already dropped out of college and was just working like regular schmegular jobs. And during the course of their relationship, yeah, they had already gotten married. So after they got married, she went back to school for her bachelor's. She got that. Then she went back to school for her master's. She got that. She's in a leadership role in her company. She keeps advancing in her earning potential. And why is he a Dusty? He's a Dusty because he's what I call like a bare minimum Dusty. And I have another friend who's married to a bare minimum Dusty. A bare minimum Dusty will sit back and do the bare minimum to get out of the house every day. So they will have a job, like a very menial job, and they'll just go to that job every day. They will never apply for a raise. They will never go out and get a certification. They don't go out and acquire new skills. There's all kinds of Ivy League schools like Harvard, Yale, MIT, Georgia Tech. There are all these really high caliber schools that are offering free classes in coding and free classes in tech. There's also, free classes at libraries and stuff like that. So you could always advance your skills if you are an ambitious man. But bare minimum dusties don't tend to go for the gusto. They don't tend to strive to achieve the best in life so that they can provide more for their families. When they have a provider wife, a 50-50 woman who is perfectly fine splitting the bills down the middle or paying the majority of the bills, they will tend to the harder she works, the more they will relax. The more she achieves, the further they will settle into the mediocrity of their career. The more she makes, and he ends up benefiting. So now they can afford a better house. Now they can afford better cars. Now they can afford to take more vacations. He's happy to coast by doing the bare minimum while she strives for greatness. You see? And that's basically the situation that my friend is in. So yeah, same job, same same, he's in the same job, he's at the same pay rate, doesn't do anything extra, never gets a second job, never takes a side hustle, never does a gig. No, just clock in, 9 to 5, will not work overtime, will not do anything extra, will not take on any extra any extra projects, will not network in the company or try to move up. No, just a bare minimum, Dusty. Okay, so that gives you the backdrop of where we are. So, and it's been extremely frustrating for her. Let me just say that, because not only is he a Dusty, he's pretty financially irresponsible, and he has ruined her credit so many times throughout this relationship. He'll go out and get something he can't afford, let it go bad, let it get repossessed, or whatever the case may be, right? And he feels no ways about this. He can he feels no ways about this. He feels perfectly comfortable just just being bare minimum. And the interesting thing about a lot of these 50-50 women with these bare minimum Dusties is that they use religion, especially they use Christianity as a reason to, like, they want their man to be the leader of the household. So they sort of prop him up as though he is, when meanwhile he's not doing that. Or they'll and I know, like, even people in my immediate family, my mother, for example, have put a man in charge of her finances, but he's not equipped to handle it. Like, he hasn't read any books on finance or talked to financial advisors or done anything to actually become competent in financial advising. And so they'll mess up stuff, like lost hundreds of thousands of dollars behind putting a dusty, ill-equipped male in charge of the family. Like, a man should be a leader in his house. Should is the word. Should, yeah, in a perfect world, wouldn't it be wonderful to have a man that can come into the household and be a leader and be responsible and strive and kind of set the pace for the family? But if you don't have that, you need to be honest about that, and don't sit up here and try to force an incompetent person into a role that they're not equipped for. You're setting yourself up for failure if you do that. Anyway, so let me just back up. So this is around, I can't remember if it was 2012 or 2013. It was one of those years. It was me and my girlfriends who we had went to a comedy show, and I drove. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. So my friend picked me up. She picked me up, and then we met two more friends at the comedy club. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We met two more friends at the comedy club. So we had a great time. We had dinner, drinks at the comedy club, and then we ended up hanging out afterwards because some of my friends had bought, like, the comics DVDs and stuff to, like, get it signed and take a picture with the comic. And we were just chit chatting. We had a great time until we were walking towards the car, and we realized that my friend's car, her tire was on flat. I don't know what happened. She had been having issues with the tire or what, but the tire was flat, and um, she called her Dusty. She called her Dusty, her husband. They had just been married, like, they had been married for maybe like a year or two by this point. But like I said, they had been together for 8 years before they actually got married. So they're basically newlyweds, right? So she calls her newlywed husband, her Dusty, and says, "Hey, honey, my tire is flat." And keep in mind, they're living with her parents, because guess what? Her Dusty didn't didn't buy her a house. Her Dusty conveniently effed up her credit. I don't know what happened financially, and they had to move in with her parents, right? Because that's what Dusties do. So he's sitting at her parents' house watching the football game, or doing sleep, or doing whatever it is that he's doing at her parents' house. And she says, "Honey, my tire is flat. Can you come up here and pick us up, or can you come up here and um deal with the car?" And he tells her, "Well, who are you with?" And he says, "Oh, I'm with so and so and so and so and so and so." And he was like, "Oh, well, just go with them and have them drop you off. I'll deal with it tomorrow." And she just looked so embarrassed. Hold on, y'all. Okay, thanks for holding, y'all. So, she looked so embarrassed. She just didn't know what to do, and she kinda walked away, and she was just kinda talking to him, and I can only imagine her pleading with him, like, "Please come up here and deal with this car." And, so she walked away from the group, and we're just all looking at each other like, "What the hell?" You know? We're not obviously, we're not gonna leave her here and leave her in the parking lot. And so she comes back, and she just has this defeated look on her face, and she's like, "Well, he told me to just leave the car here, and he'll deal with it tomorrow." And I asked her, I said, "Well, I mean, I guess you technically could do that. I think this parking lot is safe, but," I said, "Do you feel comfortable leaving your car here?" And she said, "Honestly, no, I don't." And I said, "Okay, well, let's just call your dad." And she was like, and I was like, "He probably would be here before you hang up the phone." And she's like, "Yeah." And she just was pacing around. I know she didn't want to call her dad. I know she didn't. I know she didn't. Because keep in mind, if she calls her dad, if she calls her dad and he would have came up there to help us, and her husband is laying inside of her dad's house resting, her dad would have been livid. He would have gave him the business and her the business. So she didn't want to call her dad. She knew he would come, but she just didn't want to call him. She just was too embarrassed to ask her dad for something that her husband should do. Her dad gave her hand in marriage to this Dusty. Her dad placed her hand into his hand and said, "This is my daughter, take care of her." And he promised that he would. I was there. I was in the wedding. Okay? I was a bridesmaid in this wedding. So I know that was exchanged. He promised her father that he would take care of her. And he couldn't even come and help her with the car. He lived maybe 8 minutes away. He just didn't want to get out of the bed. So we're kind of hemming and hawing, and then more people are coming out of the comedy club, and this guy's with his woman, and he sees it, and I think he asked his wife like, "Hey, can I go, see what's going on?" And the wife said, "Yeah, go ahead, see what's going on." So he came over. He said, "Hey, how y'all doing? What's going on?" We explained to the brother. It was a brother. We explained to the brother what was going on with the tire, and he was like, "Well, you have a spare?" And she said, "Yeah, I don't know." He said, "Well, would you mind if I look in your trunk and check?" So he looked back there. He found her spare, and he said, "Well, I can change it." I don't. He. I think that she didn't have a jack or something. So he had a jack, or my other friend had a jack, but we got the jack, and the brother took the tire off and put the spare on there, which would at least be able to let her get her house home to her, get her car home to her driveway, as opposed to leaving it out there in the parking lot. And so, that was that. So I believe the other friend took me home. I don't remember. This was like 2012, 2013. And then she went home, and then that was that. So, you know, I say I share that story because it dawned on me yesterday when I was driving around. Uh, I didn't remember this story when I was going through my issue the other week with my car, but the main the main point that I want to drive home is that Dusties don't change, and that the biggest mistake a woman could ever make is requiring absolutely nothing during the courtship process and expecting some miracle to happen once the man marries you, or once you get into a committed relationship, or once you have a baby with this guy and you're linked with him forever. He doesn't there's no magical click 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 to where he just starts demonstrating in a totally different way. The courtship should give you a window into what your life will be with this man. And the courtship should give you an idea of the lengths to which he is willing to go to take care of you, and the lengths that he's willing to go to make sure you're safe. I mean, that guy didn't even want to get out of the bed to come and get his wife, 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 from a parking lot. He just kind of said, "Figure it out," and embarrassed her in front of her friends. She was even too embarrassed to talk to her dad about it because of his dustacity, right? So when I was going through the issue with my car, I didn't directly ask my men for anything. Um, I didn't ask them for anything. I just let them know the problem that I was having. And, life happens and life is a blessing because life will give you an opportunity to see. Any man can tell, in other words, any man can tell you, "Oh, I'm gonna take care of you. I'm gonna be there for you. You're so beautiful. You're so wonderful. I'm such a strong alpha provider," or whatever it is they be saying. And then that sounds great. But the rubber meets the road where when you actually have an issue pop up, when you actually have something um, happen in your life, and you need them to demonstrate. And so when none of my men followed through on their words, and then none of them sprung into action, well, one did, but the majority of them didn't spring into action to assist me in my situation. They eliminated themselves from the running. You see what I mean? They eliminated themselves because although at the time that I was going through this, I'd completely forgotten about this situation. But I know enough and I've lived enough and I've watched enough women struggle with Dusties to know that he will show you who he is early on. He will show you who he is when it gets tough, when it's not easy. It's easy to bask in the benefits of having a woman by your side, the softness, the entertainment, the fun, the turn up. Uh, all of that is beautiful. But what happens when there's a bump in the road? How is he going to respond to you? What happens when you're in danger? Is he going to protect you? There was one other guy who eliminated himself because we went out on a date. He dropped me off and drove away. I wasn't raised like that. Even me, a woman, is more protective. When I drop my friends off, I wait till they get inside the house. And then I might even call or text, like, hey, did you get in okay? So for a man to drop you off after going out dancing and it's 1:30 at night, and pardon me, 1:30 in the morning, and they just drop you off and drive away, he don't care about you. He doesn't. Or if he cares about you, he's not a protector. A natural protective person is not going to leave his woman outside fumbling with keys and not sure if she made it in or not. He's going to want to make sure that you get inside the house. So those are the little nuanced things to look for early on. It's not worth overlooking the protection aspect of what a man should be bringing to the table. It's worth taking note of it because you can save yourself a lot of heartache and a lot of disappointment. You can save yourself from it. You can. You can save yourself from it, from taking cues. When he shows you that, hey, you're on the side of the road and I'm not going to be bothered to do anything to assist you, you need to react accordingly if you care about having a protective man. Now, if you want a liability and you want a baby, a man child to raise, then by all means, keep on dating him because you're gonna be responsible for him like he's your son. But if you want a man that's gonna be a protective force in your life, you need to be vetting. You gotta be vetting. You have to see how he responds to keeping you safe. You gotta be vigilant of that because who knows what this guy did early in my friend's relationship that would lead him to not wanting to respond to his wife when his wife had a car issue. But if I had to guess, I would imagine that his dustiness started very early. And her being God, I don't want to call her a pick me. I love my friend. I don't want to call her a pick me. I don't know what it is. I'm not going to say pick me. Um, Someone who is not, she isn't tapped into being delicate. She has not tapped into being cared for. She has not tapped into being cherished. She hasn't tapped into that. So that's what I'll say about her. Those things are not a part of her life right now. Isn't to say it couldn't change, but right now that isn't a part of her life and her worldview. That she's a delicate prize. She's not moving in that energy right now. So that's what I have to say. I'll link the other video to this video when I get a chance. So, for context, and once I remembered the story, felt even more I felt even more at peace with my decision to not pursue those relationships with those men, because they don't strike me as being protectors, and I really value a man protecting me. So thank you for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Peace.